for convening here at Cedar Valley College for our first installment of the African American Leadership Institute's Economic Development Forum. This is a casual, candid conversation of leaders, community leaders, multi-generational, because it takes all of us to move our community agenda forward. And I'm honored to serve as Economic Development Chair for the Institute here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, who's focused on educating and providing resources for our community, which is the African American Leadership Institute that was inspired, driven by Senator Royce West, our state senator out of District 23. And so before we get started with our formal presentation, I want to have remarks from the steward of the African American Leadership Institute, Mr. Maurice West. I want to acknowledge Senator West's Chief of Staff, Ms. Luana Barton in the back. Please give her a round of applause. Thank you, Luana, for all the work that you do. And I also, after Maurice West, I would like to have Charles O'Neal, the chairman of the United States Black Chambers, Inc., to serve remarks as well, because he is a local community member serving at the national stage of our ecosystem. And I want to tie in the importance of these three sessions and how we need to educate our communities and continue to be plugged in. So, Mr. West, please give us our opening remarks.
Let me come up there. Can I stay right here? Everyone, good morning. I learned years ago that there are times when you implement the 3 B's with this. Be good, be brief, and be gone. We're here for learning. We're here for the opportunity to share ideas. Matt said it best. Let me acknowledge Mr. Ben Brown, who steadily, constantly works on the agenda of housing within AALI. And if you know Matt, the collaborative culture, that's what I'll speak to very quickly. Our charge after today is that the room is full, to find ways that there are double the number of people that are addressing the housing issues, the healthcare issues, the criminal justice issues. Because if we get all of that right, we're going to tackle this economic development issue. And so we do this at best with all those pillars of AALI monthly. And we just want to continue to do it. Join us in September for this Fall Policy Summit. We're going to tackle anything from, we're talking about an issue right now that we will address this matter that people are being humanly trafficked. It's not talked about enough. And so we have to tackle that. But if we can tackle this today and get step 1, step 2, step 3 in the economic development space, we'll lift people. So thank you for being here. Thank you, Matt, for everything you've done to make this possible. He took the ball, and he probably ran it better than Emmitt Smith, because where we are today is because of all his tireless work, and we're going to have a good morning. Thank you. Can I? Yes, Mr. Charles O'Neal is here. He's going to follow me. Yes, he deserves that because he's been doing this, and he is the pulse of America. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you. Good morning. I'm here because Matt said be here, right? No. I really can't stress enough how critical this conversation this morning is, and it's personal to me on a couple of levels. Number one, this is what I do on a daily basis, but it's critical because, again, Matt Houston, this is, I will say, his brainchild, and he has engaged a dear friend of ours, Dr. Courtney Johnson Rose. I don't doubt that you will leave here with a freshened perspective on what economic development and the nexus between community development really looks like in practice. For you realtors, you hold a significant role in how our communities are shaped going forward. But the underlying part of it is economic development. I'll say this, and I'll go to my seat. If you've ever heard me speak again, you've heard this quote. It's from Harold Cruz, from his book, rebellion or revolution. Cruz said, while it is true that ideologies move men, it is economics that feeds, clothes, and shelters him. If these ideologies are not understood in terms of economics, they're not understood at all. That is only to say, in my words, that all the political distractions are just that. They're distractions from our main focus, which is establishing and maintaining the economic foundation of our communities. We do that through economic development, not merely the placement of, I call them export factories, of enterprises owned by other folks in our community for the express purpose of exporting capital. When we do economic development, the communities that we serve will be developed, will be enriched. And so, again, with this conversation today, I don't doubt that we'll leave here with a sharpened focus on what true economic development means for the benefit of the communities we serve. And Matt Houston, you got to get up here close to this mic.
That's perfect. That is absolutely perfect. Mr. O'Neal, thank you very much. Our senator has arrived, and it's very timely for me to introduce, I guess, another Omega man, because an alpha man, well, you know, did y'all notice the confidence in this MC's voice? And I don't even worry about that, because leaders understand everything that we need all in order to survive. Senator West, thank you for allowing us the space, and I would like you to provide several remarks or updates you would like for economic development leaders in the area.
Matt, thank you very much, and it's great seeing each and every one of you. I see my workout partner over there, Judge Jones, Mike Jones. It's 5 o'clock in the morning, y'all. I didn't see you this morning, though.
Good to see you.
We're normally at about 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. Is it morning, still morning? Good morning to each and every one of you. Good morning. You know, this is the first of a series of different economic development workshops or talks that we're going to have. And I want to thank Charles and also where's Mr. West? Mr. West and Matt Houston for doing this. It's going to lead up to what we do when we have the annual get-together. It is so important that Sheila, all of the real estate leaders here, okay, even from H-Town, okay, that we come together and make sure we share information about what's working in Houston, what's working around the country, and then see whether or not we can replicate it here in the Dallas area. It's important that those financial institutions that depend on you being able to sell products and them financing it, that we bring them to the table and get them to be associate members of something so they can help us to continue to support the African American Leaders Institute, okay? Because we're now in a 501c3, Mr. West, 501c3 recognized by the federal government, so we can take contributions, right? In order to pay him his salary, okay? But it's important that we get those financial institutions and get them involved in this process. There's a lot going on, y'all. Let me give you one. This man was my banker. How long were you my banker?
Oh, man, since he ran out of money.
No, he still got money. He still got the money. Mike and I have been together from Republic now. Was it Republic? 1980? And I'm telling y'all, he gave me everything I asked for. Almost everything I asked for, I put it like that, okay. But here's the situation. There's a lot going on around UNT Dallas. And there's going to be more going on around UNT Dallas. Tell you a story. When I first started the odyssey of bringing a public institution to Dallas, of course I had the inside information in terms of where it was going to be located. I would not have been ethical if I'd have taken that inside information and bought up all the land around UNT Dallas. Not that I could afford it, but you know what I'm saying, okay? So it's real important that you, as real estate professionals and investors, make certain that you do everything you can so we control as best possible the development around that institution. And I've always said, and you'll hear me say it repeatedly, that the development around the institution does not need to be schizophrenic. You understand what I'm saying, Sheila? We need to make certain that it's the type of development that we want around that institution. For you see, maybe not during my lifetime, but not the too distant future. Think about this. There's close to 4,000 students there now. What is it going to be in the next 10 years? Yeah, 8,000, 9,000 students. If you have 8,000, 9,000 students there, you're going to have professors, staff, housing. And so we got to make certain that we control that housing. We control the sale of the housing. And not only will we have housing, we'll have businesses locating in proximity to the university in order to support the university. Yeah, as a little boy from Wilma Hutchins, I used to have to walk from Bonneview down Simpson Stewart, up to Lancaster, and sometimes, and we would be going to the Beckley Center Gym. Why in the hell were we walking from there to go to Beckley Center Gym? But we did it a couple of times. But sometime I would get to the top of that mountain, that little hill, Lancaster, Simpson Stewart, and look over there where the university and Catherine Gilliam is. I said, one day, that whole area is going to be developed. And it's coming to fruition. It's starting to be developed. There's going to be a police academy there in that area. If I have my way, I'm going to try to talk the governor into figuring out whether or not we can also put some state office buildings in that area. Why would you do that, Senator? Well, because that means there's going to be more traffic going to that area. That continues to help Singing Hills as it relates to the values of those homes there. Now, I want to see, during my tour of duty as your state senator, I want to make sure our plan is in place and that we do the type of development necessary in order to make certain that UNT Dallas continues to be a catalyst for economic development and educational excellence. Not just in South Dallas, but in the state of Texas. That's why your role is so important. You've got to make certain you give us suggestions on how to make certain it's not schizophrenic. You've got to make certain that you identify projects. As your senator, you need to make sure you point me in the right direction in terms of where to go to make certain I'm of assistance to the real estate professionals that are here. I had an opportunity, was it last week? The week before last, I had the little, we had a little deal over, little party. Was that last week? Last week. Yeah, we were hanging out with the real estate group last week. And I don't mind hanging out with y'all at all. Y'all know how to throw down. I know. Hey, look, on another deal, if you hadn't, they had the world premiere last night of Michael Jackson. Y'all go see that. Y'all didn't want to hear that, but y'all go see it, okay? It's pretty good. It's pretty good. But let me get back on subject. We're getting ready to go into the legislative session. We're fighting issues concerning minority businesses and women-owned businesses now. Where are we right now? We won the first round. It's a 12-round fight. We won the first round. They've appealed it. And we're going into the second round. We will win this fight. We just got to stay in it. Got to stay in it. Everybody's got to be committed to helping to stay in this fight, because what they did was wrong. they do so many things that are wrong, but this is clearly an abuse of power. And so the judge saw it our way. They've appealed the case, and we're hoping that the appellate court sees it our way also, to make certain we can put the program back in place. But during the legislative session, there will be an attack on the program, okay? And that's why it's so important that we stick together and we continue to work on it. There's so much opportunity here in Dallas now, and you are in the vanguard of making certain that your customers will be served and that we have the financiers that are committed to providing resources in the community. So God bless each and every one of you. I'll answer any questions that you have. Good. Thank you very much. Now I got to go to Concord. I'll see y'all later.
Thank you for stopping by, Senator.
Okay.
Appreciate all the work that you continue to do for our district and our state. I still did not see that, and it doesn't matter. I have my flea repellent on, and so no. Before we move forward with our program, I want to set the stage for what we're going to experience the next 3 months or so. As Senator West alluded, this is a series that the leadership of AALI committee members, which I see a couple of them here, Kevin Sample, Judge Mike Jones. Please raise your hand and be all the committee members of AALI Economic Development, Sarita, Tawana Barton. Thank you all. Let's give them a round of applause for their support and understanding to communicate this to our communities. This will be a 3-part series before leading to our annual summit in September, which is traditionally held at Paul Quinn College. It's in September, there are a series of workshops and different tracks that happens, and economic development is typically discussed, but we don't have follow-up meetings. Again, politics is involved in everything, and we want to make sure we create the programmatic side so that we not only announce to the community in our annual conferences, we not only acknowledge our public officials, but we also provide some type of touch points throughout the year so that our community members can get engaged. And so today, May 22nd, and in the Juneteenth area, we haven't confirmed that date, we'll have 3 conversations that one will spotlight a professional in real estate. Today, in honor of National Black Women's Month and Business Month, I wanted to theme our real estate conversation on successful real estate professionals who are black women and who are leading in our country. And so I called Courtney Johnson Rose as a little bro favor. So, hey, so I'm acknowledging all of this because I heard her talk when she was president of NARAB, the national president of NARAB, and she made a presentation here combining the faith-based community, the largest owners of real estate in our communities, and tying them into economic development. And so I want her to have a fireside chat with my sister, Christen O'Neal, someone who's here in the city, who's been fighting not only as a product of DISD, David W. Carter High School, but also a graduate of the University of Texas at Dallas, who is not only working professionally, but also entrepreneurially as she supports small organizations, large organizations like TAC to do community engagement. I want her to be more forward-facing and have a candid discussion because Christen and Courtney are our leaders in our community today, period. And we need to follow, and we need to be able to work together and move forward the agenda that that our communities need. And so this month, we are focused on how we can get our minds right for organizing and building economic ecosystems. In May, we will have a forum that will describe several projects that are happening in Southern Dallas specifically. One, University Hills, this is a 280-acre project that even if the owner's not here, I'm at liberty to describe the facets of the program so that the community can be aware of. We also have Maggie Parker, who just broke ground on a large real estate project on Lancaster Road. And we have Terrence Maiden, who is developing the Rivulet project, 90 acres adjacent to UNT Dallas. We'll have a conversation to discuss how those three projects can impact our communities and how we can be a part of that process. It's a long process to make that a reality. And then thirdly, I want us to cap our conversation with Charles O'Neal to describe our marching orders moving forward. This is being the season of Juneteenth, and it's really important for us to know from a national level how we can continue to move. And between June and September, I'll compile a report so that we can have our annual presentation in September. And so thank you all for being a part of this. We have bites and food so that this can be a working lunch. So in the time between the conversation and our discussion, feel free to grab a plate, grab something to drink. I want to thank AALI for your sponsorship for the food. I also want to thank Josie Brooks, president of Cedar Valley College, for opening up his house free of charge to allow us to have this program. So thank you. With that, I want to introduce Christen O'Neal, our moderator, and our subject matter expert who will lead our discussion for the remaining portion of the day. And now I can shut up and take pictures.
I don't know anything about Matt Houston. He does not shut up. So, thank you, Matt. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Your sister can say that.
That's right. That's right. He know. He know. Y'all doing all right? All right. Y'all ready to get this good conversation going on? So I am extremely excited to be here. I have the privilege to also have the little sis favor. So Matt, thank you for calling that favor in so I could have an opportunity to sit with my good sister, the Dr. Courtney Johnson Rose. Thank you so much for being here. Y'all give it up for. So, Courtney and I have a relationship, but she's a bad woman, okay? Right? And so I'm gonna read the bio because everyone needs to know these check marks on who this bad woman is, okay? So the Dr. Courtney Johnson Rose is the CEO of George E. Johnson Development, Inc., a full-service real estate firm specializing in community development services, owner representation, master planning, and residential and commercial brokerage services. Founded in 1974 by Courtney's father, George E. Johnson, has engaged in many facets of real estate development and revitalization with a total project volume exceeding $1 billion with a B. $1 billion. Courtney is also part of the Community Collective for Houston, which recently acquired the Power Center, a 110,000 square foot recently acquired the Power Center, a 110,000 square foot multi-purpose facility that includes a small business incubator, event center, urban farm, and private school. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. I told y'all I wasn't playing when I said she's a bad girl. Okay. Courtney is the immediate past chair of the Texas Association of African American Chambers of Commerce. She's also past chair of the board of Greater Houston Black Chamber, the second oldest black chamber in the country, second only to the Dallas Black Chamber of Commerce here in the great city of Dallas. I got to do it. I'm sorry. And as we know, and as Matt has stated, Courtney is the past president of National NAREB. So y'all, can y'all one more time give it up for the illustrious Dr. Courtney Johnson Rose. Courtney, thank you again for being a part of this conversation and lending your voice and your lens that extends beyond Houston, that it has a footprint not just across the state of Texas, but nationally. As we sit here in Dallas, where the southern sector is experiencing this kind of unprecedented economic boom, from a community perspective, there's often a disconnect between corporate growth and neighborhood wealth. How would you assess the current state of the Texas economy, specifically from a black business point of view?
Well, first, let me just say good morning to everybody. Thank you for coming. Thank you for the invitation to my brother, Matt Houston. Y'all making me feel old by saying little brother, little sis. Let's just say sis and brother. I want to thank the AALI. I just think this is such a phenomenal committee, phenomenal effort, so it's an honor to be here. And I just want to thank just the people that are in the room, some people that I consider family, like you and your dad, Mr. Charles O'Neal. And then my Realtist family is here, all the Realtists that are here. Thank you so much for being here. I give honor to our Dallas chapter president, Ms. Sheila Lucas, and one of the oldest, most prestigious members of NAREB, Mr. Billy Scott, who drove himself here at the tender age of 91. Woo. He is who we all emulate. I love Mr. Scott. Thank you so much. But it's such an honor to be here, and I'm blessed. Everybody say blessed. If you're blessed, say blessed. I am blessed to be a part of a family black-owned business. And we don't have enough of those legacy family black-owned businesses. But the success that I have had is because I have been intentional about not wasting the opportunity that my parents sacrificed so that I can be able to take over this family business in real estate. So I really give it up to my parents for the vision, and most importantly for us as children, my brothers and I, being a part of that vision and being able to keep it going. So our Texas economy right now is booming. We are at 22.7 trillion GDP. We are our own country right here in the great state of Texas. Yeah. We have so many different industries, from medical, industrial. You all see it with the number of people that are coming into Dallas, into Houston, into the metro areas. You see it with the traffic. You see it with the skyscrapers going up. So you see this booming economy. But how are black businesses participating in that? How are we benefiting from that? Now, stats show that there are a lot of black businesses starting. We're willing to jump out there and hang up our hat, but we are not scaling. 90% of our businesses are sole proprietors, which means we're not hiring anybody. We're not in a position to hire anybody. So you say, well, how come we're not scaling? How come we're not growing? The economy's growing. There's so many opportunities. What's going on with us? Number one reason: access to capital. It takes capital to grow.
Yes, it does.
It takes capital to be able to hire people. It takes capital to buy your own headquarters and keep on going. So cracking the code of access to capital at the end of the day has to be the mission of the AALI and every other consortium group, every black organization, the Urban League, TAC, NAREB. We all have to figure out collectively, how do we get this capital? At the end of the day, that is our challenge. Interesting stat, because we're talking about housing today, and the role that housing plays is, if you look at black home ownership nationwide, we're at about 42 to 44%. Dallas area, core Dallas, is about 38 to 40% black homeownership, compared to white homeownership usually ranges between 72 and 75%. According to the U.S. Black Chamber, the number one source of equity into black business for black businesses is home equity. The number one way you scale a black business is black business owners have to pull money out of their house to be able to scale their business. But I just said that only 42% of us and 40% of us even have a house to even take equity out of, to even try to grow our businesses. And then it also plays on the balance sheet. I go to the bank and they say, well, what assets do you have? What can we leverage? How do we know your stability? Well, 6 out of 10 of us don't even have our own house that we can show our stability and our payment history, and we have an asset and we have something we can borrow from. So it starts, in my opinion, at that base, at that fundamental way. And I love to tell this story about kind of redlining and how we got here. Because a lot of times we beat ourselves up, but you have to know that this plan was intentional. This plan was systematic, and most importantly, it worked. It still works today. The systematic racism that was put into place, we still feel it today if you look at our communities and the state of our communities. I went to Seattle when I was NARAD president, and I really enjoyed it. Hello, my Realtors family. Thank y'all. Y'all made me feel so special. So I went to Seattle when I was NARAD president, and went to this institute they had me go to, and this group had chronicled redlining. And what they did was they did a scenario, real life scenario, and they tracked 2 families starting from 1976. Everybody say 1976. Y'all gotta say 1976. Okay. 1976 is so important because that's the last year that redlining was legal in the city of Seattle. Okay, so they took a black family and a white family from 1976. Okay, so the black family tried to buy a home in 1976, but because of redlining, they got denied and couldn't buy the home. Black family had 2 kids, girl and a boy. Then they looked at the white family. They had 2 kids, a little girl, a little boy. White family was able to buy the home in 1976. White family got the mortgage, raised their 2 kids. About 15, 20 years later, the kids are ready to go off to college, right? White family looks and says, okay, these kids are ready to go to college. What are we gonna do? We're gonna pull equity out of our home because we've been here a little while. So we're gonna pull this equity out of our homes for our kids to go to college and not have to get student loan debt. Right? So then the kids go to college, no student loan debt. The kids graduate from college, couples do what a lot of couples do. They say, you know what? We got this big old house. These kids aren't coming back. I think let's downsize. By this time, the house is paid off. So they have all this equity. They bought it in 1976. It's 25 years later. House has done what in value? Double, triple, because that's what real estate does. They have all this equity. They sell this house. They go downtown Seattle and they buy a brand new condo. Brand new AC, energy efficient, perfect little spot for them. Next year, the daughter comes and says, I'm getting married. They say, oh, we're so excited for you. We're going to pay for the whole wedding. They got all this equity. They sold the house. They put money in the bank. They bought the new house, paid for the daughter's wedding. Wonderful. Son comes along a couple of years later. He says, I'm getting married. They said, we got 20% down payment because we want y'all to buy a house and get your life started. Right? All from the 1976 house. Okay, let's talk about the black family. Remember the black family? 1976. They got denied for the loan because of redlining. So they could not get the mortgage. Okay, they kept on renting. Guess what happens? Every year, rent goes up, gets more expensive to rent. Every year, prices of houses go up. So it's harder and harder to save. But 10 years later, that couple finally bought them a house. But guess what? That house that was $50,000 in 1976, guess how much it cost in 1986? It costs $100,000 10 years later, because that's what real estate does, right? This couple, they get themselves together, they get the down payment together, they buy a house 10 years later. Okay, so now their kids are already teenagers. Remember the little boy and the little girl? Well, it's 10 years past now. So now it's time for their kids to go to college. Well, guess what? Mom and Daddy only been in this house 3 to 4 years. We don't have that much equity. We bought the house for $100,000, so we had to pay more for it. We haven't been here long enough, so we don't have any equity that we can pull out for our kids to go to college. Okay, but the 2 kids still go to college, but guess what they go to college with? Student loan debt. See how the house matters? Okay, so both the kids go to college, they graduate from college, they got student loan debt. The daughter comes along and says it's time to get married. Well, the couple had made a decision. They said, okay, do we sell this house and downsize, or do we age in place? They decided based on how much equity they had. They still had about 8 years left to pay off the house. Based upon how much they owed, how much stuff cost in the market, they couldn't afford to sell the house and move into something else. So they decided we're going to age in place, right? We're going to replace the roof. We're going to fix the AC. We're going to replace the windows. Y'all know all the things that you got to do to get the house ready, and we're going to pay this house off, and this is our retirement house. So when the daughter comes and says, Daddy, I'm getting married, the daddy say, baby girl, we can't help you. We're trying to pay this house off. I got to replace the roof. I got to get this house ready for you and for me and your mama to retire in. Son comes, says, I'm getting married. Say, son, I'm so proud of you, but I don't have 20% to give you down because I'm still trying to get all the windows replaced in here to deal with this Texas heat. 1976 to 2006, this chronicled these 2 families. The difference in net worth was $150,000 for the black family and $1.5 million for the white family. But where did it start at? Started at that house in 1976 that they couldn't get. So when we say access to capital, it's so complicated, because being able to do something as simple as pull equity out of your house so I can grow my business, so I can hire employees, so I can leverage to get a loan to grow business, we don't have that option. So this economy in Texas is growing and is growing and is growing, but how do we take part of that? So the solution is we have to crack the access to capital question. That, again, every black organization, that's our challenge, is how do we work together collectively, which is why I love AALI and this concept, because that's our real way to overcome. I'll say this as I close on this question, is some say that the civil rights movement of the 60s was about access. Access to live where we want to live, access to go where we want to go. You know, that's what that fight was. But the new fight, the new civil rights fight for us is really on economics, being able to access capital, being able to access opportunities. They are available to us, but until we crack this access to capital question, we can't fully take advantage of everything that is actually available to us.
That's actually a kind of good transition to where I want to go next in the conversation, with the legal and legislative battles over DEI and HUB programs, and that impact to black contractors, developers, and businesses. How do we continue to thrive despite these headwinds? I mean, the access is there.
Yes, and thank God for Senator West. Thank God for Charles O'Neal and TAC and all of our organizations that are fighting for us. I was sharing with Senator West in my brief time with him that I was on a call with him and Senator Miles from Houston about the lawsuit that's being filed and the fight. And like you said, we're in round 1 of 12. Right. And we will prevail. But in the meantime, we got to put our head down. Yeah. And we got to keep on going. We got to be smarter. We got to do more for less. Did your parents ever tell you got to be better? stuff that they do you can't get away with. You got to be smarter with your dollar. You got to push your dollar further. That's where we are as a business community, is that we have to realize the writing on the wall and that the powers that be don't want you to make it. So how are you going to make it anyway? Second thing is we got to invest in each other. Our community actually has everything that we need together. It's interesting because I used to hear my grandparents and uncles and older people in my family debate about segregation and say that we were really better off before all this. Man, you remember when we used to go down to Lyons Avenue, blah, 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 and we had this biz and that biz, and I'm listening to the older people talk about how we didn't need none of that. So at the end of the day, guess what? We still have it. It's just scattered around into the suburbs. We in Cedar Valley. I was like, we ain't going to Oak Cliff today. So we out here. We just have to find where the resources are, but we're still here. But I used to hear my grandparents talk about before with segregation, everything we need our community had. We need to think back to that model. And then the third thing I would say is don't believe the hype. The hype is here to discourage you. The hype is here to make you think, oh man, we ain't got this HUD program. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Well, guess what? Only 1% to 3% of black businesses was even getting money from the HUD program, was even getting opportunities for it. So you feeling discouraged and you never had a HUD contract in your life and you like, shoot, I think I'm just gonna quit. Well, wait a minute. Think about, don't believe the hype, because it's designed in many cases to be very polarized and to discourage you versus to say, hey, wait a minute, we got AI now, we got technology now, look at all the tools that we do have that can help us scale our business. I was just talking to a good friend yesterday, and he has been able to scale using virtual assistants at $5 an hour. So he was saying, hey, I've got the assistant doing this, doing that. Let's figure it out. So I think this is our opportunity to be more intentional about how we work together, to be more intentional about our resources, and to be more intentional about how do we survive in this period that we are in. But we can survive.
We can. We can.
Yes, it's in us.
So in our survival, let's talk about claiming our stake, right? With billions of development dollars flowing into the southern sector, there is a very real fear of gentrification and displacement. What is the blueprint for local communities and businesses and organizations to ensure they are actively included in these growing opportunities rather than pushed out by them?
Yeah, so as a real estate professional, and we have a lot in here, we deal a lot with gentrification. And at the end of the day, where our communities are located, or as the tide has changed, these are the most sought after properties. So dealing with gentrification can be complicated. And there are some tools that cities have used, from freezing property taxes, et cetera, that can be implemented. But the one thing that black people have that we're not really taking advantage of is political power. We have political power. We're in seats. I think the mayor of this city, Cedar Valley, is African American. We have city council members. We have county commissioners. Community benefits agreements. We have a community in Houston, 5th Ward, that's gentrifying area. Big developer came in. They did a very powerful community benefits agreement with that developer. What are we going to get out of this? TxDOT is coming into Houston, building, expanding 45 freeway. Under the leadership of Senator Miles, we did a very expansive community benefits agreement. What is TxDOT going to do? I'm working with a community in Houston, Independence Heights, that's going to get over $10 to $15 million of funding to their area council because of this TxDOT project. Okay, so now how do we use that to keep people in place? How do we use that to build affordable housing? How do we use that to stabilize the actual community? So there's opportunity opportunities when development comes. We just need to use the political power that we have to be able to negotiate for our community. Second thing that's really, really, really big is heirs property in our community. We are losing so much. We are voluntarily giving wealth away. And we are going to be entering into what's being called the silver tsunami. Anybody ever heard the silver tsunami before? This is the baby boomer generation, the biggest generation in American history. Between this year and 10 years from now, the next 10 years, we will lose 15 to 17 million baby boomers. They will pass away just based upon age. That's where we are in the cycle. It is going to be the biggest transfer of wealth in the Black community. The 42% homeownership that we do have as African Americans are majority baby boomers. Black millennials are not buying houses in the same way. You got some Gen X in there, but the majority of that wealth, that 42% home ownership, are the baby boomers. So as they pass on, how is this wealth going to be transferred? And as we talk about gentrification, a lot of their properties are in these communities that are being sought after, that are being gentrified, that are going up in value. So it's very important as this silver tsunami comes that we as Black families start having real conversations. No more of this shucking and jiving. Hey man, what's going on with you? Hey, man. No, it's time to really have a conversation about how much is owed on this house? How much are the taxes? Are we getting the exemptions? Who pays what when? Where are the documents? Where is the deed? It's too much at stake in terms of wealth for us not to have these conversations. And it's so interesting, as NAREP president, we did a workshop when I was president called What to Do with Big Mama's House. And we took this workshop all around the country, and people loved it, and we did it with the National Bar Association, National Black Lawyers. But it was funny because Black people, we are interesting. We got a bunch of taboos, you know. So one lady was in there saying, my kids want to know what's going on with me, and I just want to know why they want to know all this information. What they trying to do? They trying to kill me or something? Then it's like taboo. If you start talking about it, it's going to happen. We got all of these issues. The biggest issue that we saw with estate property and people coming to our workshops is that nobody was left in charge. That's the biggest issue. When you just leave it to the family and you got this cousin over here and they don't talk to this cousin over here, nobody's responsible and nobody can take responsibility. So one thing I would encourage everybody in here, think about who you're going to leave. If we leave with any action plan today, think about who is in charge of your estate. Who's it going to be? And you got to make a decision, because the lack of decision making is one of the number one reasons for the heirs property is going so crazy in our community.
What advice do you have for leveraging their existing professional skills to make a successful pivot into this industry?
Yeah, so I love this because I was part-time for 3 years before I went full-time into real estate. I graduated from the University of Texas at Austin. We had a family, hook 'em horns. We had a family business, and I wanted to come to the family business. As a little girl, I was always at the office. I knew everybody, blah, 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 blah. My daddy said, no, go to corporate America. I was with a program called Inroads, and through Inroads, I had an internship at a company called Accenture, and they offered me a job. And my dad said, hey, I ain't gonna pay you like that. Go on over there to those people, see what's going on. And he said, I really want you to learn systems and processes, because he said, I've always been an entrepreneur. My dad started off, he finished law school and went straight into real estate because my mother already had my brother. So he's immediately started. But he said, I never had that corporate, background. If you get that corporate, learn what they doing, take them spreadsheets and bring them on home. It was a way for us to really scale as a company. So I went and I started working at Accenture, but I was part-time in real estate. And what you do in my family is you get your real estate license. I have 3 brothers, all of us have a real estate license. You just keep a license. We don't always have a license and a passport. You can do anything with that. So with that, I really learned a lot from corporate. But the one thing that corporate gave me, that anybody that's in corporate that wants to do real estate, is it gives you the ability to buy real estate. If I was transitioning from corporate into entrepreneurship, into real estate, I would buy real estate to really stabilize your income. As an entrepreneur, the hardest thing is income and cash flow. So use real estate as a tool. One, you're learning the business, you're learning how properties go, you're learning how to manage, you're learning neighborhoods, but also, 2, you're stabilizing your income. The best, easiest time to get a loan is when you're not a 1099. Use that job as a W-2 and buy real estate. That's the perfect entree into the business. Second thing I would say, and I've really learned this from my father, is to be able to work in teams, work in groups. If you want to invest, a lot of people want to invest in real estate. Well, you may not have the appetite to go out, flip properties, and go into the hood and renovate, and then stuff starts happening and you over budget and blah, blah, blah. Invest in a group. We have a project we just did in Houston that was a syndication. We did 18 homes in a gentrifying area. We found 18 continuous lots. We found the property. We made them into 18 continuous lots. And we took investors in $20,000 increments. Our investment group had the ability to go out and understand what was happening. We walked them through the platting process. We walked them through the builder process. We walked them in the sales process. And they made money. They made 18% on their money. But it was a great way to get involved in real estate without using your credit, without risking your collateral in your house and all this other stuff. It was a great way to invest and learn. Think about partnerships. Think about joint ventures. A lot of times we try to do everything ourselves and it's too heavy and we don't get anywhere. We talked about the Power Center in my bio. Perfect example of a partnership. Power Center building was a building that my kids' school was in. So my kids' big building used to be a Kmart, a lot of different uses. My kids' school was in the building. One day I picked up my kids, and the owner of the school, her son, came out and said, hey, you're in real estate, so we chat about some stuff a lot. He said, this building looks like it's going down. Parking lot all busted up. They haven't painted nothing. You think the owners are in trouble? Now they were leasing their side. And I said, no. I don't know, but let me ask. A couple of weeks later, came back, said, hey, I asked a question, and they said, yeah, they are, and they're struggling with it, and they would potentially sell it. So he said, well, we want our side, but we're not really ready for the whole building. Well, guess what? I'm in real estate. I property manage, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we said, okay, well, what about the kitchen and what about all the land in the back? Well, another one of our partners, which is his brother, owns 2 restaurants in Houston, needs a catering kitchen. Okay, perfect. We also had an opportunity to do urban farm through a grant. So all of a sudden, 3 different entities came together with 3 different interests to buy this one property. The school operates the school. My husband and I operate the event center. and the business incubator. That's my background in business and chambers, etc. And then the chef, the restaurant owners, operates the 17,000 square foot kitchen and the urban farm. But the three of us came together, created a new company to be able to buy this building. If I would have said I'm gonna go buy a 110,000 square foot multi-million-dollar building, I would came home, my husband would be like, are you crazy? But to say, hey, we're gonna partner with the collective, while we call ourselves the community collective, because we came together as a community to say, hey, we can do this. So I just think a lot of times getting into real estate, people only think about it individually, but I would really encourage us to think about what we can do as a collective. It can be the difference between it being feasible and not being feasible.
I love it. I think Senator West kind of mentioned with what we have, what is available, what's coming available, and the desire to make sure that we stake claim in that, to ensure that it does not look schizophrenic.
Yeah.
How do we do that? I think, again, there's this idea of jumping into it. There's this idea of being a part. Even if we say, let's start this collective here.
Yes.
What does it look like to ensure that it is not this schizophrenic kind of grab and go?
We have to have a plan. And that's where the power of the organizations really lie. So there are several members here from the Realtors organization. That is a professional, the premier network of real estate professionals. Why are we reinventing the wheel when you have the premier network of real estate professionals in the room with you? We have AALI, that's the consortium. So we have our education, our Paul Quinn, our Cedar Valley, all of our data is right there. Why are we reinventing the wheel when all the data's there? So at the end of the day, it really lies within our organizations. We have the Texas African American Chambers here. This is our business community. They do a state of black business every year. The power is in the network, but we have to be able to not run our organizations in silos. So I love that the Realtors are here. I love that TAC is here. I love AALI is here. This is how it really happens. Us all being in the room on the same conversation, because you have to have a plan. And what we see a lot of times in our communities is there's one group over here trying this, there's another group over there trying that, versus we don't have enough resources. If Trump has taught us anything, it should teach us that we're stronger together. If we haven't learned anything at all, we should learn that, wait a minute, it's not enough bandwidth for you to be over there and me to be over here. We have to come together because the plan against us is strategic, it's intentional, and it's effective. So for us to work our way out of this, we got to be strategic, we got to be intentional, we got to be effective. The best way is by pulling our resources together, and events like this, conversations like this help that happen.
I know Mr. O'Neal is coming up later, and so I know he's going to speak to joint ventures, and I know he's going to talk about that at length, because to your point, that is how we grow. We are better together. As we transition into our neighborhood solutions working lunch, what is one actionable challenge or thought starter you want to leave with this audience today regarding ownership and pride in the DFW Southern sector?
Yeah, so we have to own it at the end of the day. We can talk about being there. We can talk about what we experienced. We can talk about why our businesses are what they are. But at the end of the day, it comes down to ownership. And in a lot of cases, it's in our families. A lot of cases, it's in our institutions. Number one owner of real estate in black communities is what?
Churches.
The black church.
Yep.
But realtors, we not helping the church develop the land to come up with the plan.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, where we are as an economy it's pretty much going to come down to who owns it. At the end of the day, that's where the power is. That's where the leverage is. That's where the access to capital is who owns it. So as we wrap up this real estate conversation, it has to go back to the land. It's so interesting because NARAP did an heirs property study, and we have lost millions of acres in terms of farmland, because what our forefathers knew was the land. At the end of the day, had people who couldn't read or write, but they knew you gotta control the land. You control the land, you can make a living. You control the land, you got leverage. You have the land, you can keep your family together. That was the bread and butter. So now as we see gentrification happening, now as we see all these different industries coming in, we are right back to the basics at the end of the day. And when we have this real estate conversation, it's really about who owns the land. We still have some limited opportunities in our community. You know, Matt took me this morning on just kind of a drive around West Side. I didn't even know y'all had a West Side. I always heard about Oak Cliff. I always heard about South. I was like, y'all got black people on the West Side too? This is amazing. I'm seeing all these apartments pop up. But it's really about, particularly all the black real estate professionals, it's really about helping our churches be strategic with their land. It's really about helping black families be strategic with their land. One of the things I'm most proud of as NARAP president is that we started the NARAP Developers Academy. Yes. And this academy is strategic because it's designed to help real estate brokers, our members, scale into the business of development. Because if we don't develop our own neighborhoods, they're going to run us over. So we have to have the skill set. So we're trying to improve our skill set, up our game, so that we understand land banking, we understand CDBG funds, we understand the tools in economic development to be able to redevelop our own communities, to go to our churches, to go to our institutions, and guide them in this lane of real estate. Because at the end of the day, it's about who owns it. Yep.
So, y'all, one time, if y'all could give it up for the Dr. Courtney Johnson Rose. Before she leaves, we do want to open the floor for some Q&A in just a few minutes, because I know we're going to get into we got some other conversations that need to happen. But Matt has a microphone, and if anyone has questions, Mr. Ben Brown, the man with the plan.
Well, I'm glad that she brought up the churches. That model, the church is not, this may sound funny, it's not really smart. It's just that if you got a lot of people giving you 1/10 of their income every week or every other week, and you put it into a treasury, you got people giving you. You ain't got to work for it. They giving you 1/10 of their income. It's building. You take all of that money and you go out and purchase a building, or you go out and build a building. It makes you look smart. Everybody, oh, that's a smart pastor. Not really, because he's getting money given to him every couple of weeks. He's getting 1/10 of, if he's got 300 members, he's getting 1/10 of all of those people's income. That's group economics. If we could take that same model and do it in the community, we could have supermarkets. We could have these type of things. And we learn that same group. It's just group economics. It's not really so much the church. It's that same model, group economics.
Yeah, very true.
Thank you, sir.
Excellent comment. Very true.
Speaking of money, men, state your name and company, please.
Sure. Kevin Sample, Opus Capital Partners, and thank you so much for this conversation. It's so important to have this type of conversation. I'm in the private equity business, and so our main focus is really trying to find operators to buy companies, kind of taking advantage of this whole silver tsunami, because it's the same thing with operating businesses is happening with the real estate, right? So one of the questions I had for you, and it kind of building off of what this gentleman gentleman was talking about, the collective economics is something that I think we all need to be thinking about. And it sounded like you were able to pull together a group to go and, buy real estate. Are there other plans that you guys have to continue doing that as a group?
Yeah, I love that question, and I love Mr. Brown's comments. So yes, we've periodically do what's called real estate investment funds. So through these funds, we'll pull together dollars to be able to build a neighborhood. We have an 80 home community that we're doing in Houston now. We did the 20 homes. So we will pull together a fund to be able to make that happen. So periodically, we do use that model. And the model we use, sir, is general partner and limited partners. And that's been a pretty safe model. I'll share, though. When you invest, you got to be ready for it. I had a girlfriend who was like, girl, I want to invest. So she put her money in. About 2 weeks later, she was like, how y'all coming? I was like, we ain't done nothing. So be ready when that time comes, but we have been able to figure out this general partner, limited partner structure, protects everybody, creates that hierarchy of transparency. But that was a big challenge in our community, is there's not a lot of trust in our community. And we have to know that that's intentional, strategic, and effective as well. How do you think they kept us in slavery for as long as they did? Through the mind games and the lack of trust. And, so we have to, it's a lot to overcome, but the general partner, limited partner structure has been pretty successful for us in kind of overcoming. People want to know what's going to happen to their money and what's the best case and what's the worst case. But that has been pretty successful. We have limited it to, we had one fund that we did, which was 18 homes, that was for unaccredited investors. But most of the time it is for accredited investors, which does create some limitations. But what we encourage people to do, and I had a girlfriend group that did this, is they came together to create an LLC, and through that got them past the accreditation, and they were able to come together to create an opportunity for them to invest as an LLC. So there are ways that we can do it, and we are seeing a lot of success with it. And I love it too, because it's twofold. We're investing, which the investors are making money. Two, it's helping us as a real estate development company not have to go to the bank to get our funding, or to have more equity when we do go to the bank. And then thirdly, we're building affordable housing in our communities, and most of those buyers are black and brown and look like us. So it's a whole ecosystem through these funds that we have been able to create. But we got to scale it. Yep, we got to scale it. Yes, sir.
Great. Any other questions? Yes, sir. Mr. Scott.
We know by churches, most of them have a 501c3
Yes.
nonprofit, and a lot of them are losing money. So if you invest in something as a church, you're looking to make some money.
Yes, sir.
And when you make that money, you invest in your community, which is a great thing to do. And we do have an organization that's doing it with this group here.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing, going out through the country,
Great.
teaching churches how to make investment, to make money.
Yes.
So that is very good. And I met a group in Chicago, had 1,000 men. They were investing into property and all, and it was a great idea.
Very good. And one thing we have seen a lot with churches is giving is different. I remember my grandmother's church in Port Arthur, Texas, Mr. Rideau, and they used to have, small church, on the side wall, the numbers. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And then they would have the families that gave. You did that to millennials now. You ain't gonna get away with that. So it's a different vibe now. And a lot of churches, Mr. Brown, that depended on that every week, 1/10, they're not getting it. And as the silver tsunami comes, that group that was dedicated, that was raised like that, is passing on, and you're going to be left with these millennials that, you know, give to all kind of different groups and different organizations. They give, but it's not just to the church. So churches are now challenged with how to use this land that we have to stabilize the ministry. So it's a great time and a great opportunity to work with churches right now, because most of them are feeling the squeeze of the breadbasket is not quite the same. So what else can we do, apartments, units, etc., to be able to stabilize the overall ministry?
Great question. As an interim question between questions,
Yes.
with churches and the potential economic development strategies and the taboo in our culture that you mentioned in your presentation,
Yeah.
in your conversations across the country with leadership in churches, are there any taboos that's preventing large or even mid-sized churches that own property outside of the A-frame building? Are there any taboos that exist that prevents them from doing revenue-generating things to benefit the economic system?
Yeah, through NARAB, we have partnerships with Full Gospel Baptist, District of the AME, National Baptist. What we have seen is the greatest barrier is expertise. All they know is church. And you have a pastor that was called into ministry and, you know, never did business in that way, don't really understand real estate, and they wheeling and dealing and sometimes make bad decisions. I recently taught a program, and this is interesting how this all worked, for Enterprise Community Partners. Enterprise is a large CDFI. They have a program called the Faith-Based Development Institute. FBDI is an educational course that Enterprise does for pastors. And the goal of the course is not to make them real estate developers, but to make pastors conversant on real estate, so they can be able to understand a contract, understand capital stack, understand cash flow, understand property man. That you build this property, but guess what? You got to have a whole strategy of property management. You got to know when the roof's going to need to be done. You got to know, you got to plan for insurance premiums to go up 3% a year. How do you read a performer? So this course teaches pastors that, because at the end of the day, the real crux or taboo, Matt, is education and expertise, which is also through the FBDI program. I taught that program for Houston, but it was also the premise we used Enterprise, NARAB did, to build a curriculum for the NARAB Developers Academy, but it was based upon the FBDI program for pastors, because at the end of the day, that is the biggest Achilles heel, the biggest hurdle is that expertise in those churches. Say we were smart enough to buy the land, but we can't figure out how to take the land into income-producing assets.
Good afternoon, Dr. Rose. Monty Brown, past president, local board president of DAR, as president-elect for TARAP. One of the questions I want to know is, you said you had limited partners. What are some of the terms that you're offering your limited partners as far as the return on investment, as well as the length of time you expect to return on investment?
Yes, so we did an 18% return and a 2-year turnaround period. And I want to recognize you, Monty, because I know you have a investment group here. We've done some of the workshops at NARAB. But for those that are in Dallas, know that Mr. Monty Brown does have an investment group. That may be something that those that are here may want to learn some more about.
Good afternoon. Gabriel Langley. I'm with Alpha Group Innovations. I'm a strategist, and I also work with Texas Bank Politics Social Forum. You spoke earlier about not utilizing political power, and I wanted to ask, what are some of the areas of opportunity that you've noticed kind of in your profession that you're not, or we as a collective are not really tapping into in our local politics or state politics?
Yeah, so this is a big one, and part of it is us being educated enough to know what's actually out there. In Houston, for example, I know you all have it here, there's community development block grants. So that's an allocation that the city, every city gets every year from the federal government. Now you can use those allocations for so many different things. So we have a development that we were a part of, and it was an old dilapidated Kroger building. The grocery store had left the community, and they had, a strip mall with it. You go into the parking lot, there's glass, it's blighted, spray paint, prostitution, drugs, all that happening. So we had some clients that wanted to buy that center. Well, the property wasn't really bankable. If we go to a bank wouldn't do it. We were able to have them take down that property and buy it through the CDBG Section 108, where they got a loan from the city of Houston with a 2.5% interest rate and zero down using community development block grant funds. The project couldn't go to the bank. The bank wouldn't touch it. But because it was a community development project, we were able to use political power to be able to get that project done. Now, once we got the project under control, we were able to then siphon it off. We did low-income housing tax credit, so we got 124 units. We were able to get, they purchased this right when George Floyd hit, so we got $40 million of donations into this project. But we wouldn't have been able to even start without being able to get a 2.5% interest rate loan with 0% down. But that came from the city. I'll give another example that we're working on now. Every congressional member gets appropriations every single year. We're trying now, working with Congressman Green, to get appropriations to be able to scale our NARAB Development Fund, to be able to say in his district, he wants emerging developers to be able to develop the land in his area for affordable housing. That's through his appropriations fund. But they come into our dinners and say hello and blah, 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 and we don't even know that they got appropriations. Every congressional member gets appropriations. We should be asking them, hey, well, how many millions you getting? So we're not taking advantage of that because we don't know that it's even out there. But that's how come AALI is so important, and being a part of the network and coming is important, because now you know the next time you see one of your congressional members, you need to say, hey, when are your appropriations coming out? Because they get them every single year. Project I just talked about, Edison, we use CDBG. Also, Congressman Green gave $5 million of appropriations to that project. The county, Harper, through COVID, $3 million to that project. The county is also going to put a sheriff's department in the Edison Center. What does that do? They're going to lease 3,000 square feet. One, they are Class A tenant that's going to pay every single month. So Popeyes and all, they may not pay. Mom and them may not pay, but they're going to pay. So that stabilizes the balance sheet. In addition, now you have a presence on the campus. Leave your cars, leave those sheriff's cars and those police cars all over because we still in the hood. So when you have all of these police cars and policemen in there, in and out all day long, we don't have to pay that extra security to stabilize our property. But that's something that the county did. We worked with the county commissioner. He said, I'm gonna have a precinct office over here. So just like that relationship now is $5,000 a month worth of income, plus they pay CAM, plus the police cars are there all day long. So that's something that we're not, that political power, we should think about every project, commercial project we have, how do we stabilize it? The Power Center, I'm trying to get the state rep for office, they pay rent. I'm trying to get congressmen in office, they pay rent. I'm like, does the city of Houston need a public library? Because they pay rent. How can we stabilize these commercial projects utilizing the political power that we have? So we have the power. We've done a great job getting our people elected. We got to keep them in power, but we also have to use it for economic development for ourselves. Yep, great question. That's okay.
That's it.
Wrap it up.
Y'all, one more time, please, for Dr. Courtney Johnson Rose. Thank y'all. Thank you so much. I'm going to exit the stage too, but I do have the honor of bringing up our next speaker, the Charles O'Neal, my daddy. So I get that privilege. So Mr. Charles O'Neal, the president of the Texas Association of African American Chambers of Commerce, chairman of U.S. Black Chambers of Commerce, and just a good black man. Y'all, Mr. Charles O'Neal.
Thank y'all. And I might not even need it. I'm not the speaker, and so I'm not going to try to do that. One more time for Courtney Johnson Rose. I mean, among all the other things she is incredibly modest. She's a balling sister, believe that. And the one thing she did not touch on is not only is she a graduate of, but she is an instructor in a community development course that is held at Prairie View A&M University. So she not only talks the talk, she does put the real shoe leather on the ground and walks the walk. A couple of things that came to my mind while sitting there, and again, I won't belabor the point because I'll get you all at the Texas Association of African American Chambers of Commerce annual conference. We'll be in Fort Worth this year, September 23rd through 25th. Mark that down. You are business owners. Yes, you're realtors, but you're business owners, and this is the best, absolutely best black business organization in the state of Texas, a 90-year history of advocating on behalf of black-owned businesses. You ought to be in the room because we'll have not only folk like Courtney Johnson Rose and Matt Houston and Kevin Sample and others who will help us put legs and feet on the conversation that you heard this morning. That is the critical parts of how we really manifest economic development. And we heard from Senator West. That was a question about how we exercise political power. All of us have heard Texas has more black folk than any other state. You can't tell it in our state's politics. Why? Because we don't flex. And so, I gave y'all a quote earlier. One more quote. Niccolo Machiavelli is alleged to have said, "To be perceived as powerful, you must act powerfully." You get that? To be perceived as powerful, you must act powerfully. So we can't go in there. We got more black folk in the state of Texas, and we talk like this. We got to use a big voice. And so now we really got to flex in a very different way. The other thing that we heard is that while we have the growing number of small business owners, that includes realtors, what we have not made ourselves understand is collective power. I believe, and I've been preaching this for the last 12 years at least, the day of the solopreneur is over. And we must scale to be truly competitive in what is characterized as a global economy. We can't do it by ourselves. We got to do it together. And so what we've committed to as an organization is providing the tools, the resource base for business owners who are willing to make that leap, develop the kind of trust with the kind of real business infrastructure that it takes to scale an enterprise. That's the kind of thing that we want to commit ourselves to. So Matt, thank you so much for the opportunity. Dr. West, I'm going to hand it back off to you for the African American Leadership Institute. I think Matt has me scheduled for in June, and so I'll leave you with this. Yes, I've been in the business for about 30, 35 years, but for 20 years before that, I was in the newspaper business. I got opinions about everything, and I don't mind sharing them with you. So I look forward to seeing you again in the coming months. Thanks so much.
Hold on, before you put it down. You said that the conference is in September.
23 through 25.
All right. So you need to take out your phones, put it in your notes, because I'm about to give you a couple of dates. Mr. Brown is going to have a series with NARAB and NAACP. We're going to do housing. So just know it's coming. So you'll get emails on that so that you can be engaged with that. We have monthly healthcare conversations, and they're called the HEAL Summit. And that's co-sponsored by Blue Cross Blue Shield so that we can share those items with you so that you know how to not only keep yourself healthy, but also keep others healthy. We are doing civic engagement. This is a critical time. Remind people to go and get out to vote, and more important than just going to get registered, we're going to have a series of conversations over what I call voter education, because we lack that in the way by which we have to go to the polls and actually exercise. And then we come back to these type of things. And in September, and while you're going to be featured in June, you're coming back. You're coming back. Because again, it's a constant dialogue that we hope that September 4th and 5th, the Fall Policy Summit will be held. September 22nd and 23rd will be with Brother O'Neal, because again, what we want to do is have standing room only. When we have standing room only, we galvanize our communities with the information and the resources, but then we collectively go out there. So the challenge as we get ready to go, because we got to get to the airport, is that we fill this room and fill every room. This is not a one-off. You just said the solopreneur is over. We have to be collective in that space. So these are things that you will hear about, share with them. And it is my goal, or it is our goal, that we bring everybody to the table so that we can be out there and do the work that is going to make a better community for all. I thank you for your time today. I thank you. Let's give it up for Matt. Okay? When you ask someone, again, I told you, I'm not going to be Aikman. I'm going to be Dak, or I'll be Michael Vick. But when you say, I'd like this to happen, he made it happen. I hope this doesn't get recorded, if you don't mind me sharing how this. So there was another group doing a project that they featured his work and others that, sad to say, with all that you heard, they wanted to limit it to 12 minutes. 12 minutes. I didn't think it was right. I didn't think it would get the response that we needed. So I appealed to him then. We have to get this conversation going. I thank you for believing in that and bringing it to this stage. This is your platform to make that happen. So thank you. Collaborative culture. This is what it's about. So close us out.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, community members, community leaders, community members. I want to acknowledge a lot of leaders. All of you all are influencers, but some of you all have positional leadership positions that I didn't acknowledge earlier. One is Dr. Sharon Middlebrooks, President, Dallas Chapter, NAACP. Thank you for being here. Others, titles. I know we have Keisha Moore with AREP right here representing the commercial real estate professionals. We are all working together so that we can educate, empower, and move forward with our community in this new age. The new age is here. We are leaders, and I want to do my job and disseminate what I can so that we can survive. Thank you all for investing your time. We have bites here. We have this facility until around 2 o'clock or so. So feel free, have some lunch, network. We have a couple of UNT Dallas students here. We have Cedar Valley College students across this building. when you walk out, have eye contact, look at them affirmatively and say, keep it up. That's a small thing that we can do as a community that will go miles ahead in investing in our community. So thank you all. I will see you all in May as we discuss actual developments happening in Southern Dallas. Thank you all very much. Grab some lunch.